Okay, so I'll start with myself. I am Carlin Ziegler. I'm the Olmsted County Parks Director and the representative for District 6 on the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Board. And I am also the communications chair for Greater Minnesota. So putting together a lot of these forums and getting everything set. So I'm pretty excited about this one to have Kelly and Lisa here to help us with some of the pre-work that happens with some of our projects, especially when they're grant related. So I will kind of switch over to, let's introduce Kelly and Lisa first. So Kelly, if you'll introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Kelly Gregg Johnson, and I'm the Environmental Review Program Specialist at the Minnesota State Historic Preservation Office.
Thanks. And Lisa?
I'm Lisa Doyle. I'm the Endangered Species Coordinator with the Minnesota DNR.
Thanks. And then Brad, I'll hand it off to you. Start the round.
And you want me to call somebody else that after I'm done?
Let's do that. Yep.
All right. So Brad Harrington with Rock County Parks and Recreation. I'm also on the board for Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails as a communications person. And then Sarah, I will pass it off to you.
Yeah, I'm Sarah Weed. I'm the Parks Operations Coordinator for Stearns County Park in District 4. I am also on the Communications Committee. We'll go Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Fees. I'm a park planner with the City of Rochester Parks Department. I'll go to Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy Bartosh, Jackson County, Minnesota Parks and Trails Supervisor.
I'll just continue on my screen. So Alex, you're next.
Hi, I'm Alex Wildfang, and I do communication services for Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails.
Next, I see Mark.
Yeah, Mark Lohmeyer with Hubbard County Parks and Recreation Department.
Thanks, Mark. And lastly, Karen. Karen, are you able to introduce yourself? See a microphone on. I know Karen does not have video capability. Karen, if you're able to join in via sound.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yep.
No, okay, I had the button pushed. Sorry.
No problem.
I'm Karen Slinegren with the Cannon Valley Trail. We run from Cannon Falls to Red Wing.
Awesome. I think that was everybody I see on my screen. So if I missed anybody, I apologize. Otherwise, we'll keep moving along. Like I said, this is kind of a third of our series of forums that we've had this summer, talking about different park planning. And some of the planning that comes along with that is the pre-work to a lot of projects that we do within our parks and trails. So the State Historic Preservation Office, then we have the National Heritage and Endangered Species Review, and we all a lot of times have environmental, other environmental reviews and assessments that we have to do as well. We were not able to get anybody from the EA office today, but hopefully we can maybe get some information out there from that office at another time. So I'd like to just take the time to just hand it off right away to Kelly, and we'll start with SHPO and some of the things that we see with SHPO, and then we'll move over to Lisa. And if you have questions along the way, you can put something in the chat, and after Kelly's presentation or Lisa's presentation, we can get back to those questions specifically. Otherwise, we can have a nice discussion at the end as well. So Kelly, off to you.
Hey, I'm a newbie, so bear with me. Also, I just want to say my neighbors are building a garage, so there may be a little background noise, and I apologize for that, but okay. Can everybody see that okay?
It hasn't
Come up yet.
Okay.
You're on multiple screens.
I I should be only on one. Sorry about that. Share.
There it is.
Okay. How about that?
Great, looks good.
Okay, great. Okay, as I said, my name is Kelly Gregg Johnson, and I work for the State Historic Preservation Office. And just as a little background, as of March 2018, SHPO is no longer with the Minnesota Historical Society. We are now a division within the Minnesota Department of Administration. Our office is located in the admin building just north of the state capitol at 50 Sherburne Avenue in St. Paul. Our environmental review team consists of Sarah Beimers. She's our program manager. Myself and Leslie Coburn, we're program specialists. Nicole Foss, she's our environmental review transportation liaison. And then hopefully in October or November of this year, we will have a new environmental review archaeologist. We also have several staff that help in environmental review, and that's David Mather. He's our National Register archaeologist. Ginny Way and Michael Coop, they're architectural historians in our office, and Natasha Wiener and Catherine Sandlin, they're historical architects and our design reviewers. There are a couple state statutes that our office reviews these projects under. One is the Minnesota Field Archaeology Act, and one is the Minnesota Historic Sites Act. I'm not going to go through the language and all of that, but I wanted you to be aware, and I give the web addresses if you're interested in looking at the language yourself. You're welcome to do so. Our office is in charge of reviewing projects and impacts to cultural resources. That means archaeological sites and historic structures and landscapes and so forth. As your agency or their delegated agents, like the county or city, is preparing to submit projects to our office, we recommend and encourage you to visit our environmental review page. I've included the address here, and that will walk you through the process of submitting information to our office for review. Everything must be submitted via email, and I've included our email address here, and it must be submitted to our general environmental review address and not individual people. So just make sure that you're sending any new project information to the environmental review general email address. The information that should be submitted can be found on our webpage, but should include a cover letter with all the relevant information, our request for project review form, either or, they both do not need to be submitted. The request for project review form can be found on that webpage, and there's a link to it there. If you do not use the request for project review form, a cover letter is just fine as long as it includes all the information that is listed on that request for project review form. That information should be include a detailed project description, include project location maps, a USGS map or an aerial view, but that project location should be clearly defined on those maps. Any project plans, site plans, construction drawings should be included with your submission, as well as any site photographs and any photographs of historic structures that may be affected as part of your project. Once the information is received in our office for review, now, when you're submitting the project, you can submit it via email with PDFs attachments. If the attachments are too large, you can also send a link to an FTP site, and SHPO staff will go in and download that information. Once the project information is received in our office, we log it into our database for a 30-day review, and that's calendar days, not work days. So if we receive it on June 30th, our comments are due out by July 30th. And once that project information is logged in, it's routed to pertinent SHPO staff for review, like our archaeologists or our historical architect, if there's a National Register listed shelter or something like that, that is going to be worked on as part of the project. Once we receive comments back from our SHPO staff people, we issue a comment letter. And that comment letter will either include a sentence in there that says there are no properties listed in the National Register or State Register or archaeological properties that will be affected by the project. That means our review is done and we don't have any issues with cultural resources for that particular project. However, oftentimes in DNR projects, if the project area has not undergone previous archaeological survey, oftentimes our archaeologists will request or recommend a survey, but it's based on the location of the project and if it's in a high potential area for archaeological sites. Sometimes with these park projects, we also see multiple projects in the same area. And if the project has undergone previous archaeological survey, make sure and tell us this in your new submission, because we can't always remember when a review, an archaeological survey was done or not done in that project area. So I wanted to end up with some tips for a successful review. Be sure to plan for sufficient time to consult. Oftentimes 30 days is not going to be enough time. So especially if we're recommending an archaeological survey or we need additional information. So make sure you plan for sufficient time to consult. Also make sure you know your project before submitting to SHPO. Know it inside and out so that if we have additional questions or that you're able to answer those or get us the information we need. Again, please collect and organize your documentation, which should include detailed project description, project area maps, site photographs, site plans, construction drawings, and any archaeological survey reports that may have been done for the project. Be sure to describe any previous ground disturbance in the project area. If our archaeologist knows that there's been previous work done in those areas, that oftentimes influences his recommendations for survey or no survey. Please reference any previous archaeological surveys that were completed in the project area, including title or any previous SHPO project review numbers that you may have on hand. And please feel free to reach out to SHPO staff if you have any questions before, during, or after a review. I'm happy to answer any questions. We want to be as efficient as possible as well, because we have a lot of projects in our office in at any single time for review. So the more efficient it is for us, the more efficient it will be for you. So yeah, thank you. I've included my email address and phone number. If you want to follow up with me, feel free. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have right now.
Thanks, Kelly. I'll start with a question right off the bat here. We were to have an area for a future project that we know has a high propensity for archaeological findings. Do you still recommend that we get a hold of you first, or can we do the phase 1 archaeology and then send you the entire report all together? It's kind of save a little time.
I totally agree with you. I think that would be the better route. So if you that's going to save you time and schedule, we don't know what your project schedules are, any of that, but if you feel that there is a high potential for archaeological properties in your project area and there has not been any previous survey work done in that area, then yes, we recommend that you hire an archaeologist to go out there and do an assessment. If they don't feel that an archaeological survey is necessary, they would say that in the report and that would be submitted to our office. If they do recommend phase 1 survey, go ahead and do the phase 1 survey and submit that report to our office. That will save a lot of time. And then that report would go straight to our archaeologist for review and comment.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody else have any questions for Kelly?
I do. So for the, when you stated that the photo, you need to take photos for any structure adjacent or within the property, is there an age limit of 30 or more, 50 or more?
Sure, we recommend 45 years or older, and that's National Register criteria, so that's historic. So mostly with state level reviews, what the agency or the city or county needs to be worried about are those properties that are already listed in the National Register
Okay,
or State Register of Historic Places. You do not need to do any new historic property identification and a state level review. Now, I'm not going to be talking about federal reviews. That's a different thing. And you would need to be worried about that more in a federal review. We need to identify new historic properties. So mostly with state level reviews, it's going to be concerns with impacting archaeological resources or historic structures that are listed in the National Register of Historic Places or State Register of Historic.
okay. So yeah, I mean, we don't have to worry about a gas station. That's
No.
okay.
Right,
Perfect.
right. Just a lot of state park projects or county parks sometimes have like a pavilion or a beach house or something that's listed in the National Register. And if
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
project's going to affect that, then we'd need to know, scope of work and that sort of thing.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect.
I'd say with the type of projects we see for most DNR projects, at least at the state level, which I manage, are concerned with archaeological resources. And again, I'm happy to, if anybody is getting ready to submit documentation to our office and have any questions at all, please reach out. I'm happy to talk with people to make sure that we're getting what we need the first round.
Can you talk a little bit more about the difference between a state level review and the federal? Because we've been involved in a couple federal where the National Park Service is involved, and it has seemed a little different as we've gone through that. So.
Yes, and I am not managing those projects right now. It's Sarah Beimers, but I can speak to the Section 106 review process. The difference between, this is just general, between a federal and state review is in a federal review, you need to identify all historic properties within your area of potential effect for the project. So those properties that have not previously been identified, as well as those that have been previously identified. So if there's a federal review and you have a WPA structure that's going to be affected by the project and it's not listed in the National Register, it would need to be evaluated. And if it is deemed historic, then you need to take into consideration the effects of your project on that historic property. Archaeological sites are, and review is treated exactly the same for federal and state reviews. So that's not different. It's just the identification of historic structures or cultural landscapes or historic districts and that sort of thing. It's different with the federal review, as you do have to identify all historic properties within your project area of potential effect.
Okay.
Not
Great.
just those that have been previously identified.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else with any questions right away for Kelly? Okay, I think we will move on then to Lisa. Kelly, thank you for your presentation. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Kelly, it's your turn to give us the nitty gritty about your side of expectations and what we need.
All right. First, I just want to say that Kate Furman couldn't be here today to talk about the environmental review process, the formal environmental review process, but encourage you to contact her directly if you would like a presentation on environmental review of trails. So, all right, so I'm going to be talking about the natural heritage review process, which is a part of environmental review, but just one part. And first, I just want to say ditto everything Kelly said. submit as early as you can, include as much detail as you can, and federal review is separate. So, all right. For my first part, I don't have any slides. We'll get some slides later, but I just wanted to go through what a natural heritage review is. And so natural heritage review is an assessment of potential impacts to Minnesota's rare features. We consider state laws regarding rare features, and we identify any requirements under those state laws, and then recommend any additional measures to avoid or minimize disturbance to rare features. And as I said, we refer project proposers to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for federal review. A natural heritage review is required for all projects going through the formal environmental review process. In other words, any project that meets the threshold for needing an environmental assessment worksheet. Sometimes natural heritage reviews are required by the permitting, licensing, funding authorities. We like that. But regardless, natural heritage review is strongly encouraged for all projects, just as part of your due diligence for following state law and considering impacts to Minnesota's natural heritage. And then as far as the timing of when to do a natural heritage review, again, we're part of what we call early coordination. So we want it as early as possible to prevent any project delays, because we may require surveys and that sort of thing, which can only be done during a certain time of the year. So the sooner the better, but you have to balance that with project details, right? Knowing project details. So I know it's not always easy. The other part of early coordination with the DNR is contacting your regional environmental assessment ecologist. And I encourage you to do, time permitting, a natural heritage review before you contact the RIA, so that you can include the natural heritage review letter with the documents that you submit to your RIA. That way they can build upon our review with the local knowledge in the region. All right, so how do you submit natural heritage review? Well, this is where it gets exciting. So some of you may be used to our natural heritage review form, something you had to go online and print out and then fill in and then scan back into your computer and then email it to us. And we are officially launching a new online portal called the Minnesota Conservation Explorer this week. You guys are getting a little sneak preview, so just keep it under wraps till the official launch. No. So let me share my screen once I figure out how to do this. So hold on a second. Okay, can I just do that? Oh, good. Get there. Share screen.
We can see that. Thanks, Lisa.
Yep. Thank you. All right. So we've been working on this project for a couple of years now, and the main point is to make the NHIS data more available to everyone. Right now, you need to have GIS capabilities to be able to download the shape files and for all these NHIS public layers. So we wanted to make that more user-friendly, and we wanted to automate the natural heritage review process, or at least the beginning of that process. So the first part of the MCE, our what we call the Minnesota Conservation Explorer, is this web map where we can display, as I said, those public NHIS data layers. I'm just gonna go. And so the layers are split into 3 groupings: natural heritage review, conservation planning, and reference layers, right? So you have all that. And this is kind of what it looked like. I'm going to show you the real thing too, but I just wanted to walk through this first. And so this is a way where you can turn on and off layers and see your MBS sites of biodiversity significance, old growth, lakes of biological significance, calcareous fens. And we also have, I think we have some other ones that aren't on this. This is an older one, older view. And so you can play around with that. The main part of this is defining an area of interest. And so any user can come here. You don't have to log in or anything. You can come here, you can look at those public layers. And then if you define an area of interest, you'll have the option to create a conservation planning report. And when defining your area of interest, remember to think beyond your project footprint, but really what we're talking about is any activity impact area, right? Anything that could be impacted by your project, that's really the boundary you should be using. And you can draw your boundary, or you can upload your boundary. You have choices, but once you do that, you'll have an option to do the conservation planning report, and it'll look something like this. So it will tell you all the MBS sites of biodiversity significance that are near your project and the DNR native plant communities, calcareous fens, old growth, Minnesota Prairie Conservation Plan, important bird areas and lakes of biological significance, rusty patch bumblebee areas. So that's a really great way to get to do some planning even before you submit a natural heritage review, right? This can actually potentially help you design your project. Coming here and looking at this information. And when you're ready to submit your natural heritage review request, you will need to register. You'll need to create an account and log in. And then when you do that, after you've drawn your area of interest, in addition to the conservation planning report button, you'll have the option to do a natural heritage review. Click the natural heritage review button. When you do that, you'll get an automated response within 5 minutes. And the response will either be, hey, we don't have any comments, thank you. Or it will be, here's some standard comments, here's some recommendations. But you'll have your formal letter within 5 minutes. And then the third possibility is that you'll get a notice saying that your project needs further review. And in that case, then you're going to go into the queue, and your project will be manually reviewed by one of the natural heritage review team. And right now, those reviews are taking about 3 weeks for a turnaround. So if any of you have experienced the last couple of years where you've submitted a natural heritage review request and haven't heard from us for months, we're happy to say we have climbed out of that hole, and very happy to be launching this new tool. All right. Okay, so that's that. Now, how do I get out of escape? Probably, huh? Okay, let's get rid of that. And oh, sorry, you're gonna see all my stuff here in a second here. That's no good. Lots of windows open. Let me get rid of all this stuff and get back to this one. So this is what MCE looks like. Again, it's not officially launched. We believe it will be Thursday or Friday of this week. So that is exciting. And And as you see there, there's some more information here about these two things, conservation planning, the natural heritage review. And so without logging in at all, I can go into the explore page and I will see all these layers. That's interesting. Okay. Seem to not have all the layers showing up, but all right. And again, you can play around with these, you can turn them on and zoom in and all that stuff. Now to actually do a conservation planning report, you will have to zoom in beyond a certain scale. But it'll tell you that if you're zoomed out too far, it'll tell you to zoom in. So you can draw on the map. So now I have to zoom in. And regardless of what layers I have displayed, right, I can draw my area of interest and hit the button for a conservation planning report. And then that will take up to 5 minutes as well. But it's usually not that long. So that's how you would do that. Now, I would need to log in to be able to get to the natural heritage review button. So let me do that. Doesn't screw anything up. Okay. And this one will have a few more layers because I can see more layers because I'm not just I'm the admin. All right, so define area of interest. And you can do a polygon. Oops, sorry. Or you could decide, nope, I'm really doing a line, not a polygon. And then it'll ask you how much you want to buffer that line. All right. And then because I'm logged in, I now have this natural heritage review button. And so you'll need to then, this will look very similar to our old natural heritage review form. And so you'll need to answer these questions. Why you're requesting the information, what kind of project, include a description, and land cover, and what water bodies will you be impacting, and all that kind of stuff. And then when you get, and then you can attach any related project documentation that you want. So this is where, again, including any detail that you can is helpful. Or if you have gone out and done a botanical survey already, then definitely include that. Here, there's a question here. Have you done any surveys? And then just provide some information and then attach the results down here. And then we will consider that when we review the project. Now, the interesting thing about MCE is that it will let you do a draft submission, which means you just kind of get a sneak peek of what the results are going to be, but you don't get a formal letter. And you'll get and again, sorry. And again, it's those same things. You'll get us preliminary no comments or preliminary standard comments, or a statement that, hey, as is, this project is going to go through environmental review. I mean, through further manual review. And so if your project is something that is where the routes can be modified and stuff like that, you could play around a little bit and see which route might work better than another route. And then when you're ready, so no one's going to look at this if you do a draft submission. No one from the Natural Heritage Review team is going to look at it. But when you are ready to have a formal letter or the team look at it, if it needs to go to manual review, then you can come back in here and you click your final submission. And then you'll get a formal letter or a notice that you need manual review, and it's going to be a few weeks. So that is that. Let me just show you one. Oh, here, our conservation planning report is done. It looks lots of native plant communities along that. And yeah, so just goes through and gives you a list of everything, a little blurb and links, hyperlinks for more information. And will tell you whether you hit Rusty Patch Bumblebee High Potential Zone as well. All right. And when the feds come out with their new Northern Long-Eared Bat layer, that will be here too. So you can see that whether you're in one of those areas. All right, one more thing. We have a new web page for Natural Heritage Review. It tells you how to obtain NHIS data. If you had a license, how to screen. How do Natural Heritage Review. And then if you are unfortunate enough to have to go down the rare species survey process, lots of links to documents regarding that and how to report data and all that. But what I wanted to show you at the bottom was just, again, how to contact the Natural Heritage Review team. So the Natural Heritage Review team, we're happy to say, is growing because we need the extra capacity. So there's our contact information. And but we get so many emails that we actually have created several shared inboxes. And using these emails is more efficient, if you send an email to me, I might be on vacation. If you send an email to review.nhis, there's at least 3 people looking at that email address. So you're going to get a response much sooner. So we're just encouraging people. I know it seems like kind of confusing at first, all these different things, but and if you send something to the wrong inbox, don't worry, we'll just slide it over to the right one. So so that part's not as important. The takeaway is kind of, it's best not to send emails to us directly, unless we're already engaged in a conversation or something like that. But if you're just starting out, it's best to use one of these. And I think I will leave it at that and just ask if anyone has any questions.
Lisa, this is Brad with Pratt County. Hey, currently, I know you showed us all the stuff that's getting ready to launch. I know that I'm putting together an NHIS request right now, actually. Is it still just the paper document that we got to fill out that still shows like I think it was built in like 2012.
Don't fill that out. Just send an email to review.nhis and you'll get an automatic bounce back that tells you what to do.
Okay, that's I'm glad you said that because like I've been working with our GIS department too to get shape files and all that stuff. So that was going to be my next question is with all those shape files from them, it's usually a link. So how do you submit those? This new system obviously covers a lot of that stuff, but until it's
So how do you submit a shape file? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, the way our county does it is they do it with it's just a link. They access them. So that's where it gets interesting. So I just got to send the link to you guys. But
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get to the natural heritage review step until you define an area of interest. So you're going to have to, I would think, download the files from that link.
I've got
and-
flow maps that show everything too that I've had to submit for like SHPO
Mhm.
to define the area. But it's just the shape files.
Yeah, so the system just allows, let's see. I don't know if I can. It has to be a zipped shape file. I mean, it's, it has to be a specific, where does it, yeah. So it tells you exactly kind of what it has to be. It has to be a zipped shape file in less than 10 megabytes in size and, standard Esri projection. All that's kind of pretty standard though. I mean, your option, if you can't easily upload that, would be to draw it on the map. But if it's like a long trail or something, that won't be very easy either. You might
Right.
wind up having to contact us and to help, and we can help you get your project in there. But because it sounds like, I mean, right, and those are the two options, to draw on the map or to upload a zip shape file. And if you can't do either of those, we'll have to help you.
Oh, I'm sure I can figure it out. It's just a matter of how it's going to work. Those are just questions for me. You said the email is the review at what?
Review.nhis@state.mn.us.
That was all I had.
Don't
Lisa,
have any questions,
Lisa,
Lisa?
this is Karen.
Oh, sorry.
Um, so you said we should expect response like in 3 weeks?
Yep.
Okay, we've had some out there for quite a while. How would we go? And Scott has sent in emails. I don't know exactly who he sent them to check on these. So.
Sure. Did you submit them to MCE or are you talking about?
We did one, it was back in February. We sent it in email and then received an email to said, do it through MCE.
Yep.
So then we did it that way.
And you still haven't received a response?
No.
Okay, so, okay. I'll,
So we're just, wondering if it didn't go through or it was still in the trial area, didn't go through or
yeah, I'll have
what.
to check to see if, maybe it was a draft submission or something and, or, I mean, there are, I think about 10 that I know that are older than 3 weeks. Because right now we only have one person working on some of the more complicated, so yours might be a complicated one.
Okay,
So, what's the name of it?
it's for Cannon Valley Trail.
Okay. Okay, I'll look into that and.
Super, thank you.
let you know. Mhm. But in the future, you have to look forward to faster turnaround times.
Awesome.
It's been a rough couple years. All right, Kelly, did you have anything? You were trying to say something?
I was just gonna tell Lisa how envious I am of the system. Oh, we are so antiquated at our office, but I just wanted to let everybody know that we are working on a system where getting our historic structures and inventory into a system like this, where you'd be able to go in and draw your project area and those historic structures would pop up and you'd know what was in your project area, but that's not going to be live until and 2023. And of course, there'll be some hiccups and stuff along the way, but this is amazing. And I hope ours works a portion as well as yours seems to work. So
Thank you. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great tool. Very easy to kind of navigate some of the things on your own a little better too, to see where things are at in your area. So I think it's going to be pretty nice.
Yeah.
So quick question, what is a typical example of what might set off the survey needs for somebody to come out and have to survey your area?
Sure, that's a threatened or endangered species that's near your project area where your project area has suitable habitat for that species. So that's pretty much when.
Yeah, because we've had things like within a mile or,
Mhm.
pretty close, but it must have to be really close to
Yeah.
proximity.
I mean, it will depend, right, again, on that suitable habitat kind of thing. And if it's, I mean, definitely if it's contiguous habitat, you're gonna get a require. And, but yeah, so it's not automatic just because it's within 1 mile.
Mhm. I've also seen we get reports back and we have a kind of that vague generalized area of where a rare species is. They don't want to necessarily pinpoint it, but from a park management perspective, do you feel it's good for the park managers or at least somebody in the parks to know where that rare species is located so that we can help preserve the
Sure.
patch of vegetation or anything?
So there is a license agreement process, which many counties participate in, where you can enter into a license agreement with the DNR. And in the past, you would receive a GIS shapefile, right? Now, what you'll do is you'll receive access to the rare features locations in MCE. So when you open up MCE and look at the layers, as a licensee, you'll see the non-public data as well as the public data.
Okay.
And that would be a very good reason to have it, right? Is for make sure that things are being considered and avoided in management.
Anybody else on that has any questions for either Lisa or Kelly? It doesn't seem like it, but so I want to just take the opportunity to thank both of you for coming and presenting. I think both of you have some great tools and information to just kind of get us on the right track and get us started for some of our pre-work. So even just having the contact sometimes is really nice to have that person to talk to. But yeah, this is great information. I think it'll be well received. Many people probably be popping into this video later too, as it was recorded. So I think we can just end a couple minutes early if nobody else has any questions. But thank you again for both of you coming today and taking the time to present to us. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops.